You know, it's one of the oldest, most universal questions we humans have ever asked ourselves. What happens when we die? It's a thought that, let's be honest, lingers in the back of all our minds at some point. So today, let's dive in and explore how humanity has tried to answer that very question.
I absolutely love this quote from Woody Allen. It's hilarious, of course, but it just perfectly captures that very real, very human apprehension we all feel. We know death is inevitable, but we still kind of try to keep the thought as far away as possible. And it's this mix of fear and curiosity that has fascinated us for, well, millennia.
And this isn't just some modern hang-up we have. Nope. The idea of an afterlife has captivated humanity all throughout history. Literally every culture has grappled with what comes next, and their beliefs have shaped some of the most profound and interesting rituals we know.
So with that in mind, let's take a quick tour and see how some of the big ancient civilizations handled death, all based on what they believed about the afterlife.
What's so fascinating here is how each ritual is a direct reflection of a core belief. Take the Egyptians. Life to them was cyclical, just like the Nile River, flooding every year. So it makes perfect sense that they mummified their dead. They believed the soul needed that physical body to be reborn. Now, contrast that with Hindu tradition, where the body is just a temporary shell. Creation is all about liberating the soul to return to a universal reality. Meanwhile, the Greeks and Romans were building these huge monuments for a proper send-off, and ancient Chinese traditions focused on ancestor worship, believing that spirits could actually stick around and influence the living world.
Okay, so we've got all these really varied views. Physical afterlives, reincarnation, spirits hanging around. It kind of begs the question, right? Is there a simpler framework? Well, some sources point to a very, very different perspective.
And this brings us to the framework you'll find in the Bible, which really contrasts with all those historical views by simplifying the possibilities down to just two distinct, eternal destinations.
And this table just brilliantly lays out that core difference. Instead of all these multiple paths or reincarnation cycles or continued interaction with our world, the biblical view presents a single, final destiny for every single person in one of two places. So, the first destination, heaven. The crucial point here is that it's defined first and foremost as the dwelling place of God. The source quotes the Apostle Paul saying that for a believer, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So it's not so much about a place as it is a state of being with God.
And this journey is detailed even further. It's not described as some kind of spiritual sleep or a holding pattern. Instead, believers are said to be with God immediately. And then, down the road, there's the promise of a future resurrection, where the soul gets reunited with a new, perfected body. And this is all framed as the ultimate victory over death itself.
Now, the second destination described is hell. I know, this isn't exactly a comfortable topic, but to really understand the framework, it's essential. The simplest definition that the source gives is just separation. If life is being with God, then hell is described as death eternal, a complete and final separation from Him.
And a key point that the text really emphasizes is the parallel permanence of these two places. The argument is that just as heaven is presented as an eternal destination for believers, hell is presented as an equally eternal destination for those who, in the source's terms, reject Jesus.
So, after exploring all of this, the framework really boils down to two very different, very final outcomes for the human soul.
And wow, the contrast could not be more stark. On one side, you have heaven, described as something wonderful beyond our ability to even explain and a source of incredible hope. And on the other, you have hell, described as horrific beyond imagination, an eternal separation from everything that constitutes life and God.
And we're going to end with this thought. The source material references this fascinating verse from Ecclesiastes, which suggests that this longing we have for something more, this innate sense of eternity, well, it was placed in the human heart by God Himself. And the question that leaves us with is, why? Why do we all, across every culture and every era, seem to be looking for an answer to what lies beyond?